Coming up next, we're going to count down the top 10 songs of this very same week from the year 1983. We're going to recalibrate them based on their performance up to now with your memories and with artist commentary. It's the hit song Redux. And can you guess what the new number one song is based on all-time longevity? 1983 was the year of Michael Jackson Thriller, but it wasn't Michael Jackson. Could it be The Police? Maybe it's a one-hit wonder? You're going to find out next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. Make sure that you subscribe below right now to be a part of our Music History Daily. It comes straight from the artists, the legends that you grew up on. And if you like, check out our exclusive content on Patreon by clicking on the link in the description and our new merch. Both of these things help this thing keep going. I'm excited. It's another edition of our show, the hit song Redux, where we travel back to a week in the golden era of rock and roll and we recalibrate the top 10 songs of that specific week. This specific week, based on their legacy since their peak position on the Billboard Hot 100. We include your stories, your dedications. It's a tip of the hat to my hero, Casey Kasem. And this time we're going to travel back to October of 1983. Coming in at number 10, let's get right into it. Sly Stallone's younger brother, Frank Stallone, with a song for the movie Staying Alive, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever, with the song Far From Over. This movie was written and directed by Sylvester Stallone, and the song was actually nominated for a Golden Globe Award. It's one of those that I've definitely forgotten about until I was re-listening to it this week. Far From Over was actually Frank Stallone's only major hit. With New Wave and AOR taking over radio and disco was waning, this song became RSO Records' final top 10 single and top 40 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. Actually, the song has done pretty well since its release. It's had about 20 million streams. Coming in at number 9, the Bee Gees wrote it as an R&B song for Marvin Gaye, and then it ended up as a duet between Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. It's Islands in the Stream, which would end up being a number one hit. Islands in the stream, that is what we are. Kenny Rogers was going to record a solo and was about to give up on it until Barry Gibb suggested that he perform it with Dolly Parton, who was recording at the same studio at the time. No one in between. How can we be wrong? It not only went to number one on the Billboard Hot 100, it crossed over, topping the country and AC charts at the end of 1983. It was certified platinum by the RIAA for selling over 2 million physical copies in the US. It also went to number one in the Bee Gees' native Australia and number 7 in the UK. It was also one of the highest selling singles of 1984. The song has remained popular since the early 80s. It's been streamed 320 million times between YouTube and Spotify. Here's what Kenny Rogers said about it.
It was wonderful to be able to have someone like that I could play off of, that I could trust.
Coming in at the number 8 slot, the second straight number one song for the Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer blockbuster Flashdance. It's Maniac by Micheal Sembello. She's a maniac, maniac on the floor. In 1983, Micheal Sembello said, "It's a funny irony that Maniac caught on so, especially since I don't dance and have never ever been to a disco." Micheal Sembello expressed pride in having a number one record after working in the business for so many years, cautioning though, "But hey, let it die. Maniac was just a song and now I'm on to the next, and I don't want to rip off the record-buying public by doing a carbon copy of Maniac just to make some money." End of quote. And she's dancing like she's never danced before. The famous dance scene in the music video and the movie, that was actually performed by a body double named Maureen Jahan. It was a well-kept secret that Jennifer Beals did not dance in the film. She's a maniac, maniac, so both Flashdance More Than a Feeling by Irene Cara and Maniac were nominated for the Best Original Song Oscar. However, Maniac was apparently disqualified. Micheal Sembello said it was nominated for an Academy Award and was disqualified according to Academy rules because the song changed from the original and was not originally written solely for the film, which pisses me off to this day. And coming in at number 7, a song that has become much greater than its chart position years later. In fact, it's become a modern-day standard from the new romantic band Spandau Ballet with True. I had a chance to talk with former lead singer Tony Hadley about this song, and here's what he said about it.
It's a difficult song to sing. I remember doing it at the time and thinking, wow, number one, we'd never done a song like that. This was completely out of our remit kind of thing and out of our comfort zone. And this was just a very different kind of song, and it needed so much sensitivity, and I'd never sung a song like that. So, you know, you've got this so true, funny how it seems. So where before to cut along, I was going through my sort of power pop kind of power pop kind of Mario Lanza period, you know, and so this was very, very different, and it had some real kind of high bits in it.
By the way, this hit song Redux Countdown is sponsored by Zenni Eyewear, the glasses that I wear daily. At Zenni.com, you can choose from the latest frames and styles, whether you wear prescription, non-prescription, or sunglasses, and you can add amazing features like blue blocks to protect your eyes from digital blue light. Take a look today at Zenni.com. A lot of viewers shared memories about this song. In fact, viewer Peter Kelly said that True reached number 1 in Scotland in April of 1983. This was just as high school was ending for he and his friends, and for many across the country. He said there wasn't a final dance in school that didn't end with True, and many school romances, some that lasted for weeks or just the summer, or even perhaps forever. All of it was born to Spandau Ballet. He said that True will always be that final school dance and that final smooch, and should be dedicated to every school romance that ever was. But now I've come back again. Wherever those romantics are, sounds like a dedication and a memory. I love that. Another viewer, screen name No Can Do, grew up in a small town in Idaho very near where I grew up, and he said, and I quote, "Hey, Professor, maybe only you and I will understand this, but I grew up in a small town in Idaho called Rupert. I was so in love with the song True in 1983, I was just 14, that I begged and pleaded to my parents to drive 90 minutes to the nearest record store, which was called the Record Bar, at the Pine Ridge Mall in Pocatello so I could buy the album. I thought you might relate to this experience. I may have seen you there." Maybe so. I know exactly where Rupert is, and I went to the Pine Ridge Mall to buy records all the time. Now, True has remained popular to this day with close to 500 million streams since its peak placement. Coming in at the number 6 position, a legendary trio from England who is arguably the biggest band in the world in 1983, The Police, with the heart-wrenching hit King of Pain. We just talked about this a few weeks ago. But it's my destiny to be the king of pain. It ended up peaking at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, and it went to number 1 on the mainstream rock chart, while also reaching number 33 on the AC charts. It crossed over. It's also number 1 in Canada. In the Police's native country, the UK, it stalled at number 17, which is really interesting. There's a black hat caught in a high tree top. Outside of Michael Jackson in 1983, the Police ruled with their number 1 album, Synchronicity. So on King of Pain, the mallet instrument that plays throughout this song is actually a xylophone, played by drummer Stuart Copeland. He said that the chords Sting had on a little Casio, they had kind of a clinky sound, and he said, let's make it a little more organic and play it on a xylophone. When they did it live, Copeland would play the xylophone for the first minute of the song, and then he'd return to the drum kit. There's a flagpole rack and the wind won't stop. So viewer Scott Matznick said that he and his dad used to go to Canada every single August with the rest of the guys in their family, and that his dad introduced him to the Police on one of those trips. He ended up borrowing that CD, and it did not leave his stereo for a year after that. He and his dad still bond over Sting. Sounds like a dedication to his dad there. Another viewer, Larry Swanky, I hope I'm saying that right, Larry Swank, he told of attending the Police concert in Austin in '83 and how a cold front blew through with 30-mile-per-hour winds and the temperature dropped 40 degrees in an hour. He was standing in the front row and he did not care. That would have been really cool to see. Quite a few viewers say it was one of the first albums that they owned, including George Matthey, and screen name rhymes with Carbon. King of Pain has had about 60 million streams since its peak. It's one of my favorite Police songs ever. So coming in at number 5, it's a band that I feel is vastly underappreciated in the annals of rock, with a throwback sound that energized radio. Talking about Stray Cats with She's Sexy and 17. Well, she's sexy and 17. I've actually interviewed Brian Setzer, and it was awesome. Someday I hope that that interview will see the light of day. She's Sexy and 17 was the lead single from the album Rant and Rave with the Stray Cats. The song was their second highest charting single at the peak position of number 5. It also reached number 2 on the Billboard Top Rock Tracks chart and number 29 in the UK. Stray Cats, of course, had 2 other big hits with Rock This Town that went to number 9. And Stray Cat Strut at number 3. My tail in the air. Stray Cat Strut, of course, Brian Setzer's still going strong. He has a new record out right now. We'll link to it below. And coming in at number 4, a dazzling, dramatic love song from the late, great Jim Steinman, who wrote all of Meatloaf's hits. It's every woman in the world's favorite duo, Air Supply. See what I did there? Every woman in the world.
You're every woman in the world.
I interviewed Graham Russell and Russell Hitchcock of Air Supply about this song, and here's an excerpt from that. Making love out of nothing at all.
It was a different sound for us. Clive was all over it, and he heard what it could be, and he put us together with Jim, and it was a great pairing. It was obviously Russell was going to sing it, and it just caught fire straight away.
I said to Graham when I heard, I told him Lost in Love was going to be a hit, and The One That You Love certainly, and All Out of Love. I said, these are hits. There's no doubt about that. And we felt the same way about Making Love. Plus, you're surrounded by guys from Bruce Springsteen's band and Jim Steinman, obviously his history with Meatloaf. Out of nothing at all.
Making Love Out of Nothing at All has only grown in popularity since its release in '83. It's been streamed over 500 million times since then. We'll do a song feature on that one for sure. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that. Coming in at number 3, a song that was pretty much the defining dance of the early part of the decade. Every 80s kid knows it by heart. There's also a bit of a protest song, The Safety Dance by Men Without Hats.
We can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind.
With an iconic video to go along with it.
Cause your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine.
I had the opportunity to discuss this song at length with Ivan Dorschuk. He was the lead singer and the creator of this classic. Here's what he said about it.
The song was written as a direct reaction to me getting kicked out of clubs for slam dancing, basically.
For pogoing, right?
For pogoing,
yeah.
Which was the precursor of slam dance.
Slam dance,
the mosh pit, yeah. And so we was, the dying days of disco. The DJs would occasionally slip in Blondie's Heart of Glass or, Devo or Rock Lobster, the 52s. And we would get up and just start pogoing, and the bouncers would interpret that as fighting or causing a disturbance, and we'd get turfed. And so I literally went home and wrote that song about that.
And you can act real rude and totally removed, and I can act like an imbecile.
Safety Dance was initially a flop, actually, just like the band's first single, But then it was remixed into a 12-inch single. It became a #1 dance hit. We had quite a few viewers who shared memories of this ditty. One of our viewers, Bud, shared that the first time that he heard the safety dance was at overnight camp when he was just 12. He said that they had a radio show every morning during breakfast, and the counselors would have little segments introduced with a themed song. The song kicked off a quick exercise activity that they could all do from their seats. What's more 80s than summer camp and the safety dance? I want to know. Please tell me below.
We can dance, everybody look at your hands.
Our viewer Sue Gardner says she feels horrible when she sees the title Safety Dance because it reminds her of boarding school that she went to at age 11. Jeffrey Hemphill said that he and his friends would make their own music videos with a video camera and portable VCR in 1984. I guess he made a music video to the Safety Dance spoof that Weird Al Yankovic did.
Turn it off, I don't want to have to see the Brady Bunch.
I remember the Brady Bunch, Weird Al, that was great. God bless Weird Al. We need to do a segment on him. We will. I'm going to interview him. I'm going to work on that.
It's the story of a man named Brady who was busy with 3 boys of his own.
Coming in at number 2, one of my favorite artists of all time who's had 33 top 40 hits, 3 that went all the way to number 1, including this one from his 1983 multi-platinum album, An Innocent Man. It's Billy Joel with Tell Her About It.
No, tell her about it.
Although it's at number 2 for this week, it was a number 1 hit.
Give her every reason to accept that you're for real.
Billy's album, An Innocent Man, that was a throwback to pre-Beatles music with tributes to that innocent time. Billy Joel wrote the majority of this album as he was courting Christy Brinkley. The two would get married a short time later. Billy Joel wrote Tell Her About It specifically as a tribute to the Motown sound. I discussed it with Lamont Dozier, who co-wrote and produced most of the hits for Martha and the Vandellas, the Four Tops, and the Supremes. Billy Joel says that his song Tell Her About It, another number 1 hit from the 80s, that he was trying to write a Supreme song from a guy's perspective instead of listen girl, listen boy.
Right.
When she can't be with you, tell her you wish you were there.
Billy Joel is just fantastic. A real music man. Creative, juices, what can you say about it?
Tell Her About It has had about 40 million streams since its peak on the charts. It's one of those songs that a lot of people judge Billy Joel on, and they don't really get the context of it. Now you know it.
Tell her about it. Tell her everything you feel.
And now for the number 1 song for this same week in October of 1983. Written and produced by the late, great Jim Steinman, and played on by several members of the E Street Band, it's Bonnie Tyler with Total Eclipse of the Heart.
There's nothing I can do, a total eclipse of the heart.
It would end up spending about 4 weeks at the top of the charts. Actually, at one point, it would stop Air Supply's Making Love Out of Nothing at All from hitting number 1. That would give Jim Steinman the number 1 and number 2 spots on the chart. That's a feat accomplished by very few in the history of music. Do you know who the others are? Let us know in the comments.
And you're never coming around. Turn around.
Now, with Bonnie Tyler's signature raspy voice, actually, the way that she achieved that distinctive sound, Bonnie sang in nightclubs for years in Wales and developed throat nodules and required surgery in 1976. And after the operation, her voice developed that distinctive rasp that has made this song such a scorcher. This is definitely a song we need to break down. Let's see if we can get Bonnie on the show. I'll check that out. The song was actually started for Meatloaf to record, but Jim finished it for Bonnie. Now, many of our viewers remember it fondly. Haley Lewis said, and I quote, "Total Eclipse of the Heart is my husband and my song. He always belts that song out in the most dramatic fashion possible when we are driving and when it comes on the radio. But the best story I can think of is how we almost got kicked out of a bar one night because of that song." She goes on to say, "We were on our honeymoon and clearly had too much to drink, and this song came on and my husband decided he was going to karaoke it in a no karaoke bar. People started walking outside because he was singing so loudly and dancing with me. Another guy shouted at my husband to shut up multiple times before he stormed out. At the end of it, we were sitting pretty with an almost empty bar. End of quote. I love that story. That's very cool. One of our viewers, Heidi Christensen, told a really heartfelt story. I want to quote it exactly. So here's exactly what she said. I used to work with a medically fragile child. He was on a ventilator and had a G-tube in because he couldn't eat. We listened to the radio, and because of my love for the 70s and the 80s, we always listened to that era. I was always afraid I'd pull his G-tube out accidentally when lifting him out of his crib. Total Eclipse of the Heart came on the radio station quite often at that time, and I taught him to turn around Bright Eyes so that I could lift him out backwards. We had a couple of songs like that. I can't sing worth a darn, but he always loved it. Thank you for sharing that, Heidi. That really made my day when I read that. That's a great story. And Douglas Fisher said that Total Eclipse of the Heart was his mom's favorite song. She would sing it at the top of her lungs and dance to it wherever she heard it, causing no end of embarrassment to his family. He shares that his mom was pretty much tone deaf, but she loved it. Douglas sadly lost his parents in 1987. He said, every time I hear this song, I can't help but remember her singing and dancing, filling me with a mixture of joy and sadness. Well, Douglas, we're going to dedicate this #1 song, Total Eclipse of the Heart, to the memory of your mother. I got to tell you, I love reading your memories and your dedications. It's my favorite part of this whole thing. This is our time machine. Please keep sharing them. All right, so after counting down the exact charts from early October to mid-October 1983, here's a new top 5 based on how they performed since their peak. A couple of surprisers in here. At number 5, Islands in the Stream by Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton with 318 million streams. At number 4, big surprise, Maniac by Micheal Sembello with an amazing 424 million streams. Coming in at number 3, True by Spandau Ballet at 469 million. At number 2, always the bridesmaid, Making Love Out of Nothing at All by Air Supply. And guess what? At number 1, based on all-time views and streams since that time, there's no change. Total Eclipse of the Heart by Bonnie Tyler with over 1.36 billion streams. The great Jim Steinman lives on. The total eclipse of the charts. Sorry, I had to do it. It's a dad joke, I know.
There's nothing I can do, a total eclipse of the heart.
So how would you rank these top 10 songs? Tell us in the comments below or write it in the comments. I got in trouble the other day for saying telling you. Anyway, make sure to share your memories of these songs and the wonderful year of 1983. What a year. What other weeks or years should we do? When we do a vintage years collection concept for 1983, which is going to be coming up, who should we include? Let us know in the comments. If we didn't get your dedication or memory, I promise we will. Share it with us in the comments. We have another one coming up. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe. We'd love to have you. Check us out on Patreon. Check out our merch. Help us keep the music alive. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.